we're going to move into our top 10. At number 10, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. At number 9, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. At number 8, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. At number 7, we have the Denver Nuggets. At number 6, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. At number 5, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. At number 4, we have the Dallas Mavericks. At number 3, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the top 2, at number 2, the Boston Celtics. And at number 1, the New York Knicks.
Villanova Hova!
I actually think we started at the bottom. I think we started at the bottom.
They're the Jazz of this year. They're like the Jazz of old.
We'll talk these in little segments. Knicks Celtics will pair together. Dave, you were the one with the reaction, so your thoughts on Knicks being again cumulative.
We're just a couple of Nick fanboys, you know what I'm saying?
No.
The biggest one is down there, you know what I'm saying?
All right, guys, the fast break's been fun. I'm gonna head out. You guys have a great night. Knicks and Celtics, Dave, your thoughts 1 and 2.
I guess I understand because Porzingis doesn't count.
Yes, that's why.
But my initial reaction is still just perplexed because it's like, if he doesn't count, who is the Knicks center that got points?
Mitchell Robinson, right? No, not Mitchell Robinson.
No, Cat.
Yeah,
it was Cat.
It was Cat. That's what saved it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Because like Cat was out, so like, where's
the worst Knicks starter is Josh Hart, who is at 17, and the worst Celtics starter is Horford, who's at 21.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, like, I would agree that value wise, Josh Hart's very, very valuable to this Knicks roster, but Al Horford seemingly doesn't age.
Never, unless he's on the Sixers. Unless he's on the Sixers.
He just cruise controlled that.
that secret agent, I will never forget.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, the Knicks are great. All around, just a great team, stacked. I'm a little concerned for their lives with Tom Thibodeau and the regular season. We'll see what they've got left in the playoffs. It is obviously the big question, but they earned the ranking. I mean, they went out, they traded away picks that they had capital, they had contracts, they made every deal they could so far, and I still think they're going to keep doing. Like, Kolek looked really good in the preseason, so if your bench guards are Kolek and Deuce, like, fantastic backups. I don't know if they're settled on the center position. If you can go into the playoffs trusting Cat and Mitch Rob for a playoff run that you expect to end in a championship, like that's asking a lot out of guys who have never done that. So keep an eye out there, I would say. But no, Mikhail's great. OG's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Jalen Brunson is just the dude. So
I guess we're talking the every team has this story, but it's OG again for this team, right? Like, he went down during the playoff run last year with the hamstring. It's the case again. Can he stay healthy when the games matter? That's really, it sucks that's what NBA discourse comes down to for most of the time, but that's what it is, right? If he's healthy for this team and Mitchell Robinson's healthy, they have to be top 2, top 3 in the entire league.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, what it came down to is Dave was right, is Kristaps. Because like I just very quickly on our list highlighted, and it was, so Brunson at 4, like Brunson and Mikhail at 4 on each of their rankings, Brown and Tatum at 3 on each of theirs. Those are kind of like, Celtics are right above, but it's almost a wash. Derek White and Cat, same exact spot. OG, 1 spot ahead of Drew Holiday. It really came down to Al Horford just being below Josh Hart.
Yeah. So get a healthy KP. We said it when the trade happened. If you can get a handful of healthy games from KP, it makes the difference to the world.
And they did.
Here's
the finals.
Here's the question. In the past, I know we did 6-man and coach. I'm just going to, if we did coaches this year, how much more would that help them? Because I like Mazzulla, but Thibodeau's got to be better than Mazzulla, no?
Not for me. I think Mazzulla would be top 3-4 for me in the entire league.
Okay.
He's a psycho. He's a psycho, and I love it. He's a psycho, and I love it. That's all I gotta say.
I think Tom runs his players into the ground. It's been who he is. That's everything about him and their work ethic he requires out of his players.
Like, would a coaching ranking be the one to help the Celtics overcome the KP deficiency?
It would. I genuinely think. Well, 6-man would also.
6-man, it would, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, when we talked about it Jake kind of was like, no, we're not doing 6-man. He coaches you were kind of open
Yeah, I was
to.
okay with that. Yeah, yeah. I think Joe Mazzulla. Listen, and I think for as good of a coach as Tom Thibodeau is,
Mhm.
I think mainly his coaching philosophy relies on motivation.
Yeah,
Because offensively, they do some good stuff.
they
But if you
do.
watch, they do some good stuff. But if you watch Joe Mazzulla,
Hmm.
that team is tactically set out there.
Yeah.
Every single play is calculated, offensively and defensively. They're both on both ends. They're so calculated and so well coached
Hmm.
that I don't want to say it's like the Knicks offense does gives off vibes ball at sometimes. It's kind of like last year. Listen, we're gonna spam the Hartenstein Brunson pick and roll until you stop it, and then we'll
Yeah.
go elsewhere. But if you watch the Celtics, like as much as I hate the Celtics,
Hmm.
listen, I hate them. You'll see that as it goes on.
Who do you hate more,
Joe
the
was
Celtics or the Knicks?
definitely the Celtics.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. After
That's
that playoff
tough.
series,
That's
it might
just,
no, it definitely. Honestly, I have more respect for the Celtics than I have for the Knicks.
okay.
That's what I'll say. I just think Joe Mazzulla is, and I had my doubts because you can go find our Discord messages. Mazzulla's first year, I think he mismanaged a lot of games. But
Hmm.
the good part for him and for the Celtics is that he learned from that and he
Yeah.
adjusted, and that he is just the sicko of sickos who has watched the town about a million times.
Hmm.
Apparently, he just is. If Joe Mazzulla is one of those guys that if you ask anybody who would you have as your head coach and you take out the obvious answers, I think it would be Joe Mazzulla because obviously people are going to say Spoelstra and stuff.
The way he calculates open looks for an offense, he sets guys up for success in ways that, like, obviously a team with no traditional point guard just won a championship. But I think that probably is still somehow like underlooked by them. Like Derek White was phenomenal, Drew Holiday was great, but this was a team that was four guys on the perimeter making selfless passes, making extra passes to get the best look possible out of every possession
Yeah,
offensively. And I think that kind of slid under the radar for a lot of people. And their lack of having that number one guy that the ball has to go through
yep.
made them a better team for it. And I know it was like an ego check at times because we always gave Jason Tatum for the Kobe moments that he's trying to create and the hero ball that he tries to play at the end of the game. When it's like, you shouldn't be that guy taking the shot all the time. You
Agreed.
go for the best shot available, and that's not always you. And I think that was seen last year.
Hmm.
When they needed points, they got points from whoever was the right option. Defensively, I mean, just flawless switching up and down. They got to the guys they wanted to, and it was just
Well,
yeah.
it's even like the calculated subs, right? Like you're getting production out of Peyton Pritchard, right?
And
Like
arguably not enough is what everybody's like cracking up. I was like, you could
Hmm.
have him out there for way more time, but
yeah,
he took Peyton Pritchard minutes and he's just like, I'm gonna get the most out of you in the least minutes possible.
yep.
Like we're
I
just gonna squeeze this value down.
every single button that he pushed during the playoffs last year went right.
Yep.
Literally every single one. That Pacer series, he's talked about it. I've listened to some interviews, read some articles with him. That Pacer series was the hardest series they played, even though
Yep.
they cleared him, right? But every single game was close, and every single game he had to make late game adjustments without Porzingis. So like, I think he's just phenomenal.
Cornette also shout out to making Cornette a legit. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just a little victory lap. NBA champion Luke Cornett playing minutes. Yeah, just he actually his best career year was with the Knicks, which is ironic in this conversation. But yeah, every single like I said, every single button he pushed, he felt right. And when he had to pull players, he pulled players. And when Tatum was doing his whatever he was doing, he pulled him to the side and he was like, "Brother, get it in check." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you literally see him during the court doing that. And when they realized that Jaylen Brown was the best player on their team, they gave him the ball more. Like it's man management, it's X's and O's. I just think Missoula does not because the Celtics should have won the title last year, right? They were the best team, but
There was a phrase that was mentioned a lot in our Discord leading up through that season. It was
they
"you
must,
must."
they
You
must, and they
must.
did. Listen, you'll hear me this year say they must still because they still have like the same roster. So
You
like,
They
must.
yeah,
do.
yeah, we'll see. Ricky, I'll throw it to you for the next two teams,
Hmm.
Western Conference foes, Thunder and Mavericks. Your thoughts overall on them, and then honestly, we talked about the Thunder a little bit already,
Hmm.
but the Mavericks, like with Clay being added,
Hmm.
with Derrick Jones Jr. leaving,
Hmm.
and Josh Green leaving, I think those are only two notable guys. I guess your overall thoughts on like I know you like Clay, what his output could be on this team, and then Luca is Luca, so there's not much to be said there. But I think the more interesting one was Kyrie, how good he was in the playoff run last year. Can he repeat that, and can he duplicate that this year?
The Clay one's going to be a boring answer. We're not going to know Clay's impact until we get to the playoffs. Like regular season, it is what it is. I still think like this team makes it to the playoffs, obviously, but Clay's really going to make his impact in those playoff minutes. How much defense can he give? How can he add from outside shooting? Does Kyrie have to play as well as he did last year? With the Thunder, I have one thought, and yet again, it comes down to the playoffs. How hungry are they going to be? How much are they going to look at that loss to Dallas?
Mhm.
And if they meet again in the playoffs, go, this is our time. Kind of like in football, like this past weekend, last weekend, I should say, you had Detroit kind of have that sour taste in their mouth with how the game against the Cowboys went last year, and they just kicked the living out of the Cowboys. Will the Thunder have that this playoff run? I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I gotta talk.
I think a fun question is I don't want to give nobody say your answer,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that either 2 out of 3 or all of us, our finals prediction winner is going to come from this top 4, which is quite funny because
Is it?
it's just quite funny to be honest, because it actually worked out where I think probably the top 4 contenders are up there in the top 4 of our positional rankings.
Yeah.
So you're saying that all 3 of us are going to have a champion from this top 4?
Either 2 out of 3 of us or 3 out of 3 of us. I don't know.
Okay.
You like to go out on the edge sometimes, so that's why I was.
I mean,
that's why
living on the edge.
I listen. I'm
living on the Adam Copeland. You know what I'm saying?
I know that Dave and I are probably going to come from this top 4. So
yeah.
I know
unpredictable, if anything.
Yeah. We could talk about the Sixers. I feel like we're going to talk about the Sixers a lot this season. I assume because they're going to be a.
Oh, you don't want to spend 30 minutes on your team like we did on ours?
No, see, I'm a good host.
How many games is it going to take
no,
for
actually,
Joel
you asked me the
Embiid to win a championship?
He just did.
You asked. No, I'm not answering the championship question. If you want to ask legit questions about the Sixers roster,
no, it wasn't a championship.
How many games? How many games?
Oh, you're asking this
to win a championship? Like, yeah, like, do you think if he?
So wait, I'm thinking
in the playoff, yeah,
you need 16 wins. You probably lose about 12 to 14 games as well. That's probably about 30 games. Probably 30 games in the playoffs. I'm just saying ish.
Yeah,
13 games in the playoffs plus. Listen, I don't really want him going over 50 this year in the regular season.
That's my concern.
I'm gonna be honest with you though, and this is my one rant that I'll give you is this is my hopium, I guess is the word. First of all, I don't need to say much about Tyrese Maxey. I think everybody feels the exact same about him. I don't think anybody has any alienating points on him. It's gonna be. This is the first year that I've actually heard them talk about load managing Embiid before the season, and not just like, oh yeah, we're gonna be careful. Like, no, we have a legit plan on how we're gonna do this, and we're gonna stick to it. Now we'll see how long that lasts. That's my worry. I'm very encouraged that he's going to wear the brace. I know some Sixers fans are worried about that. He needs to wear the brace. All right, I don't care if it limits him a little bit. If you limit him in the regular season to get him to the playoffs, that's all I care about. I really like Kelly Oubre. I really love Caleb Martin. I don't think Caleb Martin's. I've said this before. I don't think his full effect is going to be shown until we get to the playoffs. Because I think that's where he's a playoff riser.
Boston Celtics series.
Yeah, but we haven't had a playoff riser on our team that's not one of our big players. You know what I mean? Like, have not had that in forever. Like, we've been waiting. Shout out Tobias, for him to do anything in the playoffs, and he scores 0 points in an elimination game.
Not a shout out. I see what you did there.
The shout out, shout out. So it'll be interesting. The bench is relying on a lot of old guys. The X factors on the bench are obviously going to be Jared McCain and Ricky Council. I think those are going to be the two guys who we'll see as McCain. We learned today he's fine, which is great. We'll see his playing time will probably go up as the season goes on. And I think when Paul George and some of the veterans rest, that's when he'll get his go to see if he can take minutes. I think Ricky Council is going to play at the gate. I think an interesting player that doesn't get mentioned a lot and has been talked a lot in the preseason is KJ Martin. He's been playing a lot in the preseason, and Nick Nurse keeps talking about him and how much he likes him. So I'll be interested to see his minutes going forward. I don't want to
nickname of human trade exception.
Yeah, but like,
no, I mean that's the crazy thing.
I know, but
I had that as like that was him pegged. So
my Bill Simmons is. I think there might be a world where KJ Martin is a big enough player in the rotation where they're not just gonna somebody good enough has to become available where they want to move him basically. There is a trade for the Sixers at the deadline. We still have our first round picks. We have that 2028 Clippers unprotected pick and the 2029 unprotected swap with the Clippers. Those are going to be the ones that people are probably going to want. So we'll see. It's the Sixers are a lot of if, ands, and buts, and we're going to be talking about them as the season goes on because they're going to be one of the more polarizing teams, I think. Because I think everybody agrees. Say they're healthy come the playoffs, they're finals contenders. But what's the likelihood of them getting to the playoffs healthy? I'm gonna say under 20% probably. So we'll see. We dodged it. We dodged, as you saw with our recording on our center video. We dodged the bullet with Paul George. It almost killed me. And we dodged the bullet with Jared McCain. So like, how long can you dodge these bullets for is the question. I don't think as a Sixers fan that we're gonna win the finals this year. You'll see that a spoiler alert from our predictions. But I think they'll be a fun team, and they'll be at their very best. We'll probably see a kind of like the Clippers last year, a month to 2 month period where they are just dominating everybody. I think we'll probably see that, but the hope is that that happens in April and May, and not in December and January like it did for the Clippers. So I don't want to spend too much time on my team because trust me, I'll bring them up during the regular season enough where we'll talk.
You're
about
like,
them.
trust me, they're gonna come up.
We're going to group the next two teams together. It's kind of the second tier of the West, I think, in the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. Ricky, I'll go to you. Denver Nuggets, actually, no, Minnesota Timberwolves. Julius Randle coming in, maybe a little bit of a hindrance to some people, but maybe I did hear, shout out, I do the one podcast every year I listen to. The reason I've referenced Bill Simmons twice is the one podcast a year I listen to. Are there over-unders? Because it is a hilarious podcast.
It is.
Honestly, and they were talking about, and it kind of piqued my interest, is in the playoffs. Dave, don't get too mad. Rudy Gobert does his thing, and you don't want to have to rely on him down the stretch. You go to Randall and Naz Reid. That does give them a little bit more flexibility with their lineups. You could go Dante, Ant, McDaniels, Randall, and Reid, and it could be an interesting lineup. But Ricky, overall thoughts on the Wolves? Are they title contenders? And I guess if not, what's holding you back from saying yes?
I'm going to say no. And the only reason I'm going to say no is two things. One time was nice, but I'm going to need to see another time. I'm going to need to see another deep playoff run before, to quote the late Dennis Green, crown their asses. But also it's like, don't want to take anything away from them, but like, Phoenix wasn't impressive in the playoffs last year. Denver took them to 3 games, but let's be completely honest, Denver got dog walked by them. It was like that series was like a boxer where it's like there were games where it's like the T-Wolves came out and punched them in the face, and the Nuggets like stumbled back and were like, "Whoa, we were not expecting this. We were just not expecting this." And then when they met Dallas, the real contender, the team that came out, they lost 4-1. So like, is Minnesota going to have those favorable playoff matchups again that work in their favor? I don't think Randall is a net positive for this team. When the trade happened, I liked it for the Knicks. I didn't like it for the T-Wolves. But we're going to see if Randall wants to win a championship with this team, he's going to have to nut up or shut up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
I mean.
I throw to you, Dave. I think it's interesting because they were built to beat the Nuggets.
Yep.
They beat the Nuggets.
Yep.
And now they've fully pivoted. So I just find it interesting.
They weren't built to beat the Mavericks.
A little.
Yeah,
it was a Euro.
Maybe they Euroed a little bit. That is not a Euro. I don't know.
I was Euroing backwards.
Yeah.
Euroing backwards. No, that's the video where they just Euro through the whole stadium.
Yeah, I know. I've seen. Yeah. So yeah.
No, you're right. They were built because of the double big, and that worked out well. They got to throw 3 guys at Jokic and wore him down. Funny enough, we watched OKC go out and pick up another true big. So I don't think it's necessarily a concern. Like, the top team in the West, even though Dallas was in the championship last year, is not Dallas. I don't think anyone thinks it's Dallas. I think we all expect it to be the Thunder right now. And I think they match up decently well with the Thunder. The biggest problem, obviously, is Thunder can defend every position under the earth, above the earth, everywhere on the earth. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
if you're relying on Julius Randle to bounce the ball 7 times
That's
for 9 seconds in a possession in the playoffs, I'm not gonna bet on you to win a game. That genuinely is not an offensive strategy that has worked ever in this century. So I think the big thing for them is trying to figure out like how do
that's so
you.
rude.
It is rude, but it's also being real.
I
Like
know.
he can't play the same way he has played. We talked about it in the video before. He's reunited with his offensive coach from his time down with the Pelicans when he had his like breakout, like, hey, I'm legitimately a good player still. Just because I left the Lakers doesn't mean I'm bad. Um, I think that they're gonna have to tool his role on this team. Like they're gonna have to cater it a little bit more. Like early in the year, they're gonna let him do his thing, feel the motion, be the spin cycle that he is,
Mhm.
the Beyblade of Minnesota. But I do think that as the year goes on, they're gonna tweak his role dramatically, or he is the leading candidate for the trade deadline
Yeah,
on a big juicy contract. So TBD.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I think
it's a bit of a toss up there. I think, and we talked about it with the Nuggets. Like on the other hand, they're in a position where they are so thin that they are paper thin. If Jamal Murray is not that guy, guess what? No championship. It's just that easy. Like you just write off the whole season. It's Jokic can only carry so much. Strother's got to step up. Christian Brown's got to step up. Zeke Naji has to play real minutes this year that matter.
it's a disaster. That's what it is. Their roster building is just horrendous.
Yeah, Alexander has a chance to steal the backup point guard role technically, and he was undrafted or second rounder, one or the other. Like I loved him, but like it's just you're asking a lot out of guys who have not ever produced. Like Ricky said, you got to do it, and like unfortunately, the 4 guys who are still in this roster who have done it, only one of them is still in like peak mode.
Yep.
Like I'm hoping Michael Porter Jr. steps up. I'm hoping Jamal Murray is going to be old Jamal Murray for more than like 3 games this playoff run. So they have a lot like riding on very little. So their window is very narrow.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think there's a scenario that we end up in that Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon are trade candidates
Yes.
at the deadline? That's what
Yeah.
That's what I was really. And again, there's a Sixers Discord I'm in, and they talk all day, every single day. So every single topic is crowned. But they were talking about Aaron Gordon, and they're like, if the Nuggets are in a so-so situation, do you think that they actually, not that they're not going to look to rebuild, they're going to look to retool. Do you tweak the roster construction a little bit? And that Jamal Murray, he can't be traded, so it's not going to be him. It's got to be one of MPJ or Aaron Gordon. MPJ's contract is a little bit wild right now.
It's a gamble.
It's Aaron Gordon, right? It's Aaron Gordon is the guy that but he is such a good fit with Jokic that he struggled a little bit in the playoffs last year, which is one of the reasons they regressed a little bit. I just find it interesting because I don't know. And again, it's not like they have Jokic, so they always have a chance. But it's kind of a roster construction where you go, where do you go from here?
Yeah, it's a year back, and you hope that the young kids play damn well because if they don't, like you're just it's not there.
Oh, it's interesting because I like the Sixers are relying on a lot of veterans and some 2 or 3 young guys. The Nuggets are just all young guys. Like they have to produce or else they're screwed. That's just interesting. Ricky, go to you for the Milwaukee Bucks. Interesting year for them this year coming up. Dame, we'll see if he can bounce back after a quote unquote bad year, which is still a good year for him. Like in generality, is still a good year.
Yeah.
But a step back year for Dame. Giannis obviously misses the playoffs, hurt. Brooke Lopez with his back injury out back and out all year. Chris Middleton was in and out all year, but was fantastic during their short playoff series. I guess what do you see them as a top 4 team in the East? And again, if you don't, I guess why?
If Giannis is healthy, yes.
Yeah.
It solely is on Giannis's health. Like the only reason they had the playoff run they did last year was because of Giannis's health. And that is solely it with them. They go as far as Giannis goes, just like the Nuggets go as far as Jokic go. The Sixers go as far as Embiid goes. Like the Mavs went as far as Luka went, but Kyrie kind of boosted that. These teams, Thunder, they'll go as far as Shea takes them. Like if Giannis ain't there, the Bucks are cooked.
Cooked.
Well, they are.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. The one thing I will say is there's not too much to say on the Bucks, but the one thing Doc Rivers does is win regular season games.
He's probably the worst part of this team is that he's the head coach.
Yeah, but he
if you
wins regular.
included head coaches, their ranking would go down.
He wins regular season games, and I hate Doc absolutely with all my power. I hate Doc.
Oh, you're hot.
You'll hear me as soon as I can this year. What is the
Rant?
Not rant, but like hate on. We'll go hate. As soon as I can hate on him, I will. But again, like you said, they have Giannis, who's a top 3 player in the league still. I'm still top 3. So if he's healthy, it's the same thing as the Nuggets. The ceiling is the roof.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last team we'll talk about in the top 10, Dave, I'll throw to you because I know you want to talk about them, is the Memphis Grizzlies. You said, I saw your finger motion earlier. 50 wins is what you think for them?
Should be the bar. I think they're uber talented when healthy. They haven't been. Yep. Got it.
Shout out.
Love Seamus. I do think that
What about Cesaro,
team,
man?
Yeah,
Cesaro's great too.
What about Claudio?
He's gone.
PCC,
Yeah,
baby.
he's gone. No, the team's very, very, very good. Last year is a tank year basically due to injuries and suspensions and injuries and injuries and injuries and injuries and injuries and 35 players later under rosters. I mean, just you can't expect that stuff. So this year we're assuming health because of course it's before the season started. They're just Ja Morant is a difference maker, period. You're talking about like the guys that the team rides with and dies with. Like Ja Morant is that. He can single-handedly get this team to 40 wins. It's on Bane. It's on Jaren Jackson Jr. It's on potentially trading Marcus Smart or keeping him. That's up to you guys. I'm not telling you to do things, but I'm just
we were told that he was already going to be traded by now. So
there was talks of that. They've got incredible bench depth, and then you got Zach Edey who can just clown on people who are mismatches, but we'll see long-term what that... I shouldn't say long-term, through the season, how those matchups look and how they're going to learn to use him and what Western Conference matchups will look like with him. Because I think that's all that matters right now. It's like, hey, how does Edey look against Jokic? How does he look against Chet and Hartenstein when he comes back? How's he going to look against Gobert? Like, what can we do with him to take advantage of his hilarious size? But the rest of the roster is just stacked. And I love the fact that we got to see like Scottie Pippen Jr. become a legit backup point guard in the NBA. Vince Williams Jr. shout out, massive jump, absolute
Shout
dog on the defensive end. Dog. We'll see Gigi Jackson returning from injury and probably killing the G League again because he has absolutely no self-control when it comes to shot diet.
Lightly.
I just...
That was putting it lightly.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. It's just they're such a talented team, and I can't talk highly enough about their offensive system, their defense. Brandon Clark or Janan Jark is going to be returning as of the regular season. Like, he's played a couple games so far. He had a year off. He's going to take some time. Let's put it that way.
I think might be cooked.
He might be cooked. His shot was never good to begin with, but if his athleticism isn't all there, there's definitely question marks.
Sometimes it's hard to cut off, the cord and with players because we all liked him.
Yeah, we do.
It kind of is.
I'm not ready yet, but I'm close.
And you're with him like I am with Jalen Green. We both understand it.
By the way, Jalen Green stomped another G League team tonight.
Let's go.
He had like a 30-point night.
He's gonna be so good on the Brooklyn.
It was San Antonio though.
Him and
San
Cam
Antonio
Thomas
was like third unit.
Him and Cam Thomas next year.
Oh, like looking in the mirror.
Dogs.
Yeah, I think that the Grizzlies are probably gonna jump a couple teams we talked about.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think they're Western Conference like finals potential if they get the right matchups throughout. They're just dangerous because Ja Morant is dangerous.
Agreed. Ricky, any final thoughts on our overall cumulative rankings? Good job.
Do you feel, as I say, genuine? Do you feel like we got the right 10 teams in the top 10?
I think
that's my question.
I think the Suns should be in over the Cavs. I think that's probably about it.
I agree.
I think you flip the Suns Cavs. Listen, you're not gonna like me, but I think I'm moving the Grizzlies down to 11, the Cavs down to 12, and I'm gonna put the Suns at 9 and the Pacers at 10. I think that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not far off though. It's not far off.
No, I think pretty good then.
I think the two teams that are vastly like the Suns should be in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
And there's, even without Kawhi, there's no way the Clippers are 21. There's no way the Clippers are in the bottom third.
Yeah, agreed. Brother, the
Like-
Clippers are not worse than the Raptors.
Mhm.
Oh,
They're also better than the Warriors.
yeah, they're
and the
definitely better.
Kings.
Kings have a lot of talent in positions.
I
but just
don't know.
lack certain
That
things.
one's gonna be interesting. I'm not sure, brother. Nobody can guard the Kings. The Kings can't guard
Unbalanced.
anybody either. But
Yeah.
nobody can guard the Kings. But yeah, that'll do it for our overall positional rankings, cumulative rankings for the preseason. The NBA season kicks off in literally 4 days,
We're almost
5
there.
days. We're almost there. The next time you see us will be Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
The season will be getting ready in about 12 hours or however many hours from the predict. You'll see our predictions. You'll see our champions, Eastern Western Conference, our awards, everything. You'll see it. You can join us live on Monday on the Patreon. Link down below in the description. Also, Discord down below in the description. Free to join the community. Or you'll see it on Tuesday when it goes live on YouTube. The season will be getting ready that day. I will be through the roof, even though the first game is two teams that I absolutely despise.
Yep.
But it'll still be fun. But yeah, for Ricky, Dave, me, everybody here, we'll see you on Monday/Tuesday, and we hope I don't know when this is going up, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. I was gonna say have a good weekend. I was gonna say have a good weekend.
Just say it.
Yeah, have a good weekend. I was gonna say because I didn't know when it's gonna go up, but yeah. What did you used to say? And have a good day, everybody. Isn't that your line?
As always, have a good
There
day,
it is.
everybody.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use that as the outro, but have a good weekend. Please join us throughout the season.
What did Sean used to say as an outro? I don't remember. I
feel
remember
well.
welcoming ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children
Boys
of all
and girls,
ages.
of all ages, yeah. But draft content will be starting soon. From Dave and I.
Next week.
Already draft content from you and JD. There's NFL
Recording
content
tomorrow.
there. Yeah, there you go. Down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you can get notified every single time that we do either post a video or go live. And also leave a like on the video if you made it this far, because you made it through us ranting 50 minutes of the 21 through 30 teams. You deserve a little prize.
Almost a 2-hour podcast. We're just shy of a mock draft.
I
podcast.
said that this wasn't going to go long too before we started recording, and then we started talking. But
You gave us a platform, talk Bulls.
Yep, I gave you to talk about the Bulls. But before we start talking about it again, we'll sign out of
Bulls
this.
get top 10 team rankings.
We will sign out of this video. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next week with the NBA season starting.
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.